Hi everybody, Taylor Cabrera here. We're getting up to speed tonight with Mason Spencer, driver of the number 30 Asphalt Modified, your 2019 track champion. Mason, thank you for being here tonight. Tell us where you're from, Mason.
From Carthage, New York, and born and raised.
Awesome. Now, how long have you been racing Asphalt Modifieds?
I've been racing Asphalt Modified since I was about 16. Okay. And before that, I raced late models. And then before that, it was the Thunderstocks.
Okay, great. Great. So I understand you've raced more than just Evans Mills Raceway. You've been kind of all over the place.
We raced go-karts when I was younger. I started that when I was 5. And we did the NYDKS series when we did that. And we traveled
okay, so that was some dirt tracks. And okay, great. So obviously some of the best race car drivers that come out of, dirt track kart racing. Mm-hmm. It definitely teaches to be smooth in a race car. So and from my experience going out to Evans Mills this summer and driving an Asphalt Modified, the opportunity I had when the car was awesome, but it was a very different deal from what I am used to on dirt, every weekend. Yes. So a lot of finesse in the car. What do you do to get ready for each and every race?
So every race, it takes us about a week to get ready for the car, and usually going through tires, figuring out what tires we want for the weekend. Yep. Making sure everything's good to go, pretty much.
Different staggers. Do you play a lot with staggers and gearing and?
Gearing, not so much, because there's kind of a gear rule set for the motors we have.
Yep.
But stagger, yeah, we definitely play with stagger.
Okay, great. Now, how much will a stagger change from? I believe Evans Mills a 3/8 mile. How much would that change if you go to like a track like Adirondack or?
I would say not really that much. You don't have to run nearly as much stagger because you're constantly turning at Adirondack, but it's really not that big of a change, really. Okay. Because we only run about 3 inches of staggers, where you guys on dirt run about
7-8 inches of stagger at some point. So, yeah, it is a totally different. Yeah. Have you ever thought about getting into any type of dirt car? Obviously, you've been racing asphalt for a long time. Have you?
It's been a topic of conversation a couple times, but right now I don't really see it in the future.
Here's a nice part. You leave the asphalt track. You can go out to dinner. You can put your nice shirt on. You leave the track. You're not scraping 6 pounds, 8 pounds of mud off the car, and you show up the next week with the trailer and you unload it. So that is definitely a cool part. Tell us a little bit about what maintenance items you take care of during the week. Obviously, besides oil changes and stuff like that, scaling is a big portion of getting the car ready. Is that something you do every week?
Yes, we scale the car about every week, and we go through, like I said, tires, valve springs, clean the car right from the roof right to the bottom of the car, make sure everything is just spotless. My dad's a clean freak, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And, do you find yourself changing much at the track?
Now that we have the car pretty figured out, we really don't change all that much. Now, every once in a while, depending on temperatures, in the beginning of the year it's cold, then it gets hot, then it gets cold again.
Right.
So throughout this actual temperature, throughout the seasons, we find ourselves changing it a little bit every once in a while, but not very often.
Okay, so obviously after the season you had in 2019, I'd say to throw a blanket over it until next season, but tell us what you're doing in preparation for 2020. Any new sponsors coming on board? Any different cars coming into the garage?
No new cars, unfortunately, but right now the car has a brand new body on it. We just finished that up last night, actually. Yep. The car is going to get new wrap on it. Tama Crafts will be doing that. He's one of our really good friends, really good sponsors.
Great.
But sponsor-wise, we got Focal Point Custom Framing, Carl McClellan Racing Engines, and O'Connor's Automotive. And right now, we're kind of low on sponsors, but we're always looking for new ones. So
well, this is a great opportunity with this video here, so we're definitely taking advantage of that. But tell us, what do you run? And you don't have to tell us. I'm sure most people will see it, but what do you run for an engine in the car? I understand that there's an open motor and a 602 crate option. What do you find works the best for you?
I find we ran crate motors in 2016 and 2017, and then previously in 2018 and 19 we ran the open motors. It's a 358 small block steel motor. 11-to-1 compression. It's not anything fancy, but they're pretty good.
Well, I found, driving the 602 Asphalt Modified this summer, I found that even with the 602 being underpowered from the open motor, I feel like when the track is slowed down enough that you can really keep up and you can get back on throttle faster. Yes. And I think that's an important part of the game when you're racing so competitive with everyone. So.
Yeah, there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages to that. Between the motors, I mean, the crate motors, not really as much maintenance to the open motors. And a little bit easier to drive the crate motors.
Right, I do agree. Now, one of the most coolest things I would say, the coolest thing I would say at Evans Mills is the cone restart deal. Can you explain that to us a little bit? Because I try to tell some people, they say, we've never heard of that on the dirt track. So
is what they do every caution, there is the flagger will come on, he'll bring a cone right in the middle of the track. And every car has they can either pick the outside or the inside. That's completely up to the driver, doesn't matter what position you're in. Yeah. So say there's a 20 car field and 19 cars go to the inside and that 20th car goes to the outside, they go straight to the front and they start on the outside pole.
So it's more of a strategy more than anything?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Is it something that you play when you're sitting back in 7th, 8th place? Is it something that you play often?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, great. Tell us about how you would got the number 30.
So when I was racing go-karts, my number was 130Z, and my dad was drag racing, so that was just kind of the number he had, so I just kind of took that number. Then when we raced late models, they kind of told us, well, you can only have a 2-digit number, so I'm like, all right, so I'll just take 30 then.
You'd have to add anything after it, which is nice. What we do at the dirt track, we add an X or whatever the case may be. Did you have family that was racing before you that, maybe they're an inspiration to you that got you going?
Really the only person that's ever raced in my family was my dad. He drag raced for, I don't even know how many years, long before I was born. And when I was born, he was still doing that. And then I kind of got into go-karts and stuff. Yep. And he just kind of put it in my hands to keep going. So
what made you do the circle track? If your father's drag racing, was there something that you really liked better on the circle track?
I don't know. It was just kind of something that fell into place.
Yeah. So Awesome. What do you do in the wintertime outside of racing?
Lots of iRacing.
Yeah, lots of iRacing. I have seen you on there in the past, so we'll definitely have to get together and do some iRaces in the asphalt modified later tonight. But who's your biggest inspiration in racing?
I'd say one of my favorite drivers in the top national level would probably be Kyle Larson. He just won the Chili Bowl.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. If you did catch his interview after, he did say this is bigger than winning any Daytona 500 or any NASCAR race. So it's pretty cool to see the grassroots of racing with Evans Mills and Can-Am Speedway and different local tracks around that are really doing a great job, especially on the asphalt, which is awesome. What is the best advice you'd give a young driver that wants to get into the sport?
I would say the best advice that you could give a young driver that wants to get into the sport is start when you're young and just keep working hard at it, and eventually you'll get there.
Obviously, you prepare yourself during the week to be in that, the asphalt modified on a Saturday night. What are some of the things that you do to get prepared for Saturday?
Some things we do to prepare for Saturday would just be make sure every nut and bolt is tight in there and just ready to go. And we have everything in the trailer and just make everything's perfect. Yep.
Show up, turnkey, ready to rock and roll. Now, I understand you won the John Burr Memorial, which is a 75-lap race. Ultimately, that's a lot more laps than you guys are used to running over there. What kind of, tire wear did you experience? A lot of different,
Well, we're only allowed to use one-sided tires throughout that whole race.
Okay.
We weren't allowed to change tires at all. So it was kind of just a strategy game. The first half, because I think they split it up 50 laps, took a break, and they did 25 laps. And I just kind of, hung back, did my thing, the first 50 laps. And the last 25 laps, they did an invert, and I actually got put up towards the front and just happened to work out in my hands.
Awesome. They say it's better to be in the front in the last 5 laps, and it doesn't matter what you did the rest of the race. So definitely a strategy there as well. We're getting up to speed. Mason Spencer, I want to thank you for being on the show with us tonight.
Thank you for
we
having
will
me.
see you next week.